On the day my boyfriend's first love returned, he hypnotized me to believe my 3-year partner was his bodyguard, instructing him, "I don't want her disrupting my time with Sophie, entertain her for 2 months, and I'll lift the hypnosis before the wedding." Over those 2 months, my heart and mind were consumed by the bodyguard, with whom I shared intimate moments, while he held a commemorative wedding for his first love without a marriage certificate. On the eve of the wedding, he realized he could not undo the hypnosis, unaware that I had never been successfully hypnotized from the outset. A pocket watch swung before me, creating afterimages as my vision blurred. He said, "Emma, look at me and repeat, Victor is just your brother, the man you love, your partner of 3 years, is my bodyguard, Ethan." His magnetic voice enticed me in a low tone. Suppressing my excitement, I repeated after him with a trembling voice, and after several iterations, seeing my vacant gaze as if hypnotized, he relaxed, telling the tall bodyguard behind him, "Keep her occupied for 2 months, I'll double your pay." He was overly confident in his hypnosis skills, speaking freely in my presence understandably, as he was a renowned hypnotist in City A before being forced to inherit the family business. Yet he likely forgot that, having grown up together, I was long immune to his techniques. "Miss Emma loves you so deeply, if she knew," Victor cut him off, "if her Sioux family hadn't insisted on this marriage alliance, tearing Sophie and me apart, none of this would have happened. Besides, I've agreed to the marriage, I only wish to spend quality time with Sophie beforehand to make up for lost time. What right does she have to be upset?" The man beside him sneered, "Aren't you afraid Miss Emma might truly fall for me?" Victor laughed as if it were absurd. "Do you think that's possible?" I smiled. Indeed, everyone in City A knew I was his devoted follower. Seen as the obedient girl, I was praised by my parents since childhood as more well-behaved, sensible, and compliant than my brother, labels that became a lasting burden over time. Any deviation from their wishes led to lectures, while my brother could disregard everything, even defying our parents and leaving home, only to be coaxed back later. Thus, when they demanded I make Victor like me and secure a marriage with the Liu family, I sought to please him, cheering at his car races, panting behind him on mountain climbs, and joining the cheerleading squad for his basketball games. Victor grew increasingly irritated, often scolding and humiliating me publicly, his demeanor shaping how those around him treated me. Anyone could insult me, but only one person. When I twisted my ankle following Victor up a mountain, fell behind, and was left alone at night, found me, wiped my tears, gently massaged my legs, and carried me down. Only I knew that for 3 years, my love was not for Victor but for Ethan, the man who found and carried me down that night. A feeling meant to remain buried, yet now an opportunity arose to embrace it fully. Thus, on Valentine's Day, I rose early, dressed meticulously, changing skirts repeatedly, then drove to Victor's building and headed straight to his office. The door opened, and Victor's face darkened instinctively. "Didn't I tell you not to come to my company?" His words halted as I didn't approach him as usual. Instead, I went directly to the man beside him, linking arms with him. "Ethan, it's Valentine's Day, will you spend it with me? I know of a night market in the east with plenty of fun." Before I finished, a folder slammed on the desk interrupted me. "Emma, he's still working." I blinked innocently. "Brother Victor, it's already Ethan's off time." His expression turned grim. "I pay him, I decide when he's off." Ethan began to speak, but I stopped him. To spare him trouble, I stepped out to wait in the lounge. Passing employees saw me and sneered disdainfully. "She's here again, so shameless Victor can't even drive her away." Well, Victor's first love is back. No matter how persistent she is, she won't show up here anymore, they said softly, yet the words stung sharply. I closed my book, retort unspoken, when a gentle voice came from the door. "Oh, don't talk nonsense, Victor and I are just friends now." It was Victor's first love, Sophie. Seeing her, the employees quickly changed their tone. "Miss Sophie, you're too modest. Lately, Victor's been bringing you heartfelt breakfasts and buying you diamond rings. His lock screen still your photo together. We've all seen it and are so envious." I glanced at my bare ring finger, then at the dazzling 10-carat ring on hers, and couldn't help but smile inwardly. Her fair cheeks flushed instantly, as if realizing something. She approached me provocatively, whispering so only I could hear, "Emma? I've heard of you, Victor's fiancé. Do you believe I could end that with a single word?" I smiled. I'd welcome it. With that, I withdrew my hand, but she fell back dramatically as if pushed, her forehead hitting the table's edge, blood streaming instantly. "Where's Sophie?" Victor's voice sounded outside. She smirked, as if unsatisfied, and poured nearby hot water onto her hand. I was stunned. "Are you insane?" Saying this, I reached to stop her, but before I could, Victor grabbed and flung me aside. Sophie's eyes welled up, as if deeply wronged. "Victor, I'm sorry, it's my fault. You're already engaged, and I should never have reappeared. I missed you so much." But Emma seems to have misunderstood. Her pitiful look deepened Victor's guilt. "Engaged? A jealous, vicious woman like her? She's unworthy." A first love's allure is unmatched. With one sentence, she nullified my 3 years of effort. Victor approached me, his face dark. "Even hypnosis can't cure your jealousy. Emma, have I been too lenient, letting you harm my Sophie?" I didn't push her. He didn't believe me. "Today, I'll teach you a lesson." At his words, bodyguards pinned me, pliers aimed at my nails. I struggled wildly, but it was futile. I could only watch as they pried off my nails one by one, excruciating pain piercing through me, my nose stinging as I looked up at the man before me. "Victor, you don't trust me? Forced or willing, years of genuine companionship, can't that earn even a shred of faith?" His gaze faltered, a flicker of pity crossing his eyes as he began to speak. The woman in his arms spoke first. "Victor, let it go. Maybe Emma's just too sensitive from loving you." The softness in his eyes vanished. "Her love disgusts me. She'll learn the cost of hurting you." I laughed bitterly to myself. Suddenly, someone shoved the bodyguards aside. Ethan's anxious face loomed close. "Emma, I'm sorry I'm late." He lifted me to leave, but Victor, displeased, signaled, and bodyguards blocked the door. Ethan's face bore a darkness I'd never seen. "Victor, don't forget why I stayed as your bodyguard or our deal." Victor hesitated, then let us go. In the hospital, my 10 bandaged fingers immobile, Ethan sat beside me, patiently feeding me bite by bite. I felt no sorrow, only a thrilled heartbeat. He blamed himself. "I'm sorry, if you hadn't come for me, this wouldn't have happened." I leaned on his shoulder. "Ethan, it's not your fault." At my touch, he stiffened, then gently stroked my head. In the days that followed, I waited daily at the milk tea shop below the company for Ethan to finish work. Victor had given him a long break that half-month, traveling with Sophie, and I saw his Instagram posts of their outings nearly every day. He took her skiing, to Roué City we'd once planned to visit, and bought an island for their wedding sans marriage certificate or parental approval. The photos showed a lively scene, the island filled with their old friends, Sophie dazzled in a multi-million-dollar custom gown, while the once arrogant Victor knelt before her. Meanwhile, I stayed close to Ethan daily. We watched fireworks, dined by candlelight, and strolled along the beach at sunset. Though he was merely ordered to act as my loving partner, I cherished this bliss, yet such days passed swiftly. 2 months flew by, leaving just 3 days until the wedding. Lying by the sea, gazing at the starry sky, I murmured, "Ethan, will you take me away?" The man beside me paused, as if unsure. "What?" I smiled and shook my head. Noticing my low spirits, he took me to dinner and then home. After a reluctant goodbye, I opened the door to find my father on the sofa, face grim, snorting coldly as he threw a photo at me. It was a photo of Ethan and me in close contact. "Explain this," he demanded. Eyes down, clutching my skirt, I said, I don't like Victor. I won't marry him." His broad palm struck my face, burning hot. "You've disappointed me so much. How did you become so selfish, forsaking family interests for love? I always thought you were more sensible than your brother. Now it seems, sigh. I should have ignored your mother and aborted you when we learned you were a girl." My heart ached, I stared in disbelief at this once kind father. The nightmare I'd dreamed of countless times unfolded. Dad, I don't get it, it's not feudal times, why rely on marriage for gain when mutual benefit is possible? He snapped back, what do you know? Businessmen chase profit today they're with us, tomorrow with others, only ties bind securely. So drop your petty love and marry in 3 days. With that, he left. I knelt on the cold tiles, dazed for ages, then resolved to act, opening my phone to an alternate account and posting a video unable to end this marriage myself. Victor, with the most sway, surely could. The next day, a video of a top hypnotist making his fiancé forget him topped searches. Online opinion largely favored me, decrying Victor's scumbag acts, though some claimed I clung to him, forcing his hypnosis, and now leaked this to coerce marriage. Reading these, my heart stayed calm as I shut off the screen and stepped out. As I closed the car door, a large hand gripped mine tightly. Victor's eyes blazed with hostility. Emma, a girl should value herself to marry me, you'd ruin your reputation, how vile are you? You want to marry me? Impossible, you're not even worth Sophie's toe. His phone rang, he shoved me away in disgust. I crashed hard against the car, pain flaring. Watching him leave, I smiled, my goal was achieved. Soon, as expected, my father called. Victor's father brought him to renegotiate the marriage. I rushed home, elated. Victor's father, guilt-ridden, smiled warmly despite his usual coldness. Victor's a jerk, Emma, don't take it to heart. To make up for it, once you marry in, I'll give you 1% of the shares. Stunned, I glanced at Victor, his face colder than morning. Isn't this, to discuss canceling the marriage? My father shot me a look, kept them for dinner. Afterward, Victor took a call, Sophie's tearful sobs audible on the other end. Victor made an excuse to leave, my father insisted I see him off. Outside, he grabbed my throat, voice icy, happy now? Sophie slit her wrists because of you, are you thrilled? If Sophie doesn't make it, Emma, I won't spare you. Pent-up emotion surged. I bit his hand free and slapped his face. Under his stunned gaze, tears fell. If you love her so much, why not end the engagement? You love Sophie, I love Ethan, why not let each other be? Victor froze, brows furrowed. What? You love him? He sneered, your love so cheap any man's worthy? Love Ethan? Fine, today I'll show you who you really love. With a clang, the familiar pocket watch swung before me again. Forget these 2 months, remember who you've loved all these years. His words echoed in my ears. After a while, he stopped, staring intently as if to confirm his hypnosis worked. I sneered, yanked the watch away, and smashed it. I don't know what you mean. Victor gaped, panicked. How? My hypnosis never fails. He pulled out another watch. I watched calmly as he tried again and again. Seeing my eyes remain clear, his face darkened with rage. You can't wake someone pretending to sleep, no matter. Your traces of love for me will prove it all. Before I could react, he dragged me back to the Sioux house, straight to my room, to a wall draped in black cloth. My expression froze. How did he know? Think I didn't notice you'd stick my photos here with heaps of words each time you snapped me secretly? Love pretending? Let's see you deny it now. He ripped off the cloth. No. I tried to stop him, too late the cloth fell, revealing a wall plastered with photos of a man from every angle, not Victor, but Ethan. The earliest was from 3 years ago, Ethan carrying me down the mountain at night, secretly captured, June 7th, years trailing Victor, caring for him. I couldn't tell if I truly loved him. Until this man named Ethan appeared today, my still heart stirred. July 8th, knowing Ethan was with Victor, some urge made me ditch all plans to follow. He touched the photos, voice hoarse, reading each word on the wall, hands trembling wildly. So, Emma, what was I to you all these years? Did you ever love me? Meeting his reddened eyes, I sneered, I told you, I love Ethan. He gripped my chin. I forgot no one escapes my hypnosis, except you. So these days, flaunting affection with Ethan, pushing Sophie, this wall all to grab my attention and provoke me, right? I didn't deny it, leaning my lips close. Yes. I provoked you on purpose and it worked, didn't it? Begging my forgiveness to keep the wedding. If you're so bold, cancel it. He laughed abruptly, hissing in my ear, Emma, I tell you, impossible. I'll marry you, and even if you get your wish, you'll just watch me love Sophie, left alone in an empty room. With that, he slammed the door and left. I collapsed, overwhelmed by helplessness, tears streaming down. My phone lit up Ethan's message. He was waiting outside. Calming myself, I went downstairs. He paced anxiously by the car, instinctively moving to hug me, then froze, hesitating. Emma? He probed, testing if the hypnosis held. My mind replayed Victor's words. I couldn't escape the marriage, thus, I couldn't hold Ethan back. I forced a smile, voice colder. Mr. Ethan, do you need something? He froze, eyes dimming as if understanding. I didn't dare linger, fearing I'd break. If not, I'll go. Turning, tears burst free. This sweet memory could only stay buried deep. Perhaps I never should have craved what wasn't mine. Barely a few steps, someone hugged me tight from behind, a familiar scent washing over me. Emma, you were never hypnotized, right? I froze. That day you asked me to take you away. I didn't dare answer. I feared you loved him. Today, I can, Emma, I'll take you away. Dumbfounded, I croaked, How did you know? He chuckled softly. I ran into Victor. He said not to think pasting random photos on a wall could fool him with your help. I didn't get it, but just now, I saw that wall through the window. He turned me to face him, eyes locked. So don't hide it. I'll take you to country A, where no one can find you or force you. Gazing at his gentle face, I collapsed into his arms, sobbing and nodding. The night before the wedding, I fled, cautiously slipping out to Ethan's car. He'd booked tickets already. In the waiting area, my heart raced inexplicably, hinting at an extraordinary night. Hearing the boarding call, I sighed in relief, clasping Ethan's hand to check in. Near our turn, commotion erupted behind. Victor frantically searched the airport, a dozen bodyguards fanning out. My heart clenched. Before I could turn, our eyes met. He rushed over, seizing my hand, incredulous and furious. You're eloping with this bastard? I tried prying his grip with my other hand, but it was useless. Furious, I snapped, Yes, I'm eloping with him. I've told you more than once I don't like you. He roared, cutting me off. Emma. What am I to you? Flatter me when you like me, ditch me when you don't. I scoffed, and you? What right do you have to judge me? His eyes reddened. He reached for my face, but I dodged, leaving his hand hanging, stunned, as if finally believing I didn't love him. After a pause, he softened. Emma, let's stop this. I was wrong before. I'll send Sophie away. Come back with me. No. Hearing my refusal, Ethan's lips twitched upward faintly, pulling Victor's hand off me and shielding me. Victor's gaze turned icy. Get lost. She's my fiancé. From the moment you hypnotized her and pushed her to me, she stopped being yours. Ignoring him, Victor faced me. Emma, are you sure about him? The Sue family's funds are strained without Lou investment. It's billions in debt. Can you bear your father's life's work crumbling because of you? Or if he, old as he is, can't handle the shock? No wonder my father looked so weary lately, hair whitening, often staring blankly from the rooftop. My heart sank. I stared at Victor long, accepting reality, and silently slipped my hand from Ethan's grip. Ethan's eyes showed pain. Emma? Trust me in country A, I'll fix your family's issues. Tears welled. I shook my head. Ethan, I can't risk the Sue family and my father's life. I'm sorry. Ignoring his hurt look, I stepped to Victor's side. I'll go with you. Victor smirked triumphantly. Ethan, unwilling, tried to follow but was blocked by bodyguards. Wedding day brought us city's elite. Victor beamed, gripping my hand tightly to toast guests, fearing I'd flee again. That night, Sophie called, voice hoarse with tears, begging to see Victor one last time. Victor went, kissing my forehead. I promise it's to end things, I'll be back soon. But soon after, Sophie sent a photo, both shirtless in bed, Victor holding her, sleeping soundly. Seeing it, my heart perhaps numb felt nothing, a lifetime as a puppet, living for family, now playing the understanding wife, a nominal Mrs. Liu. I felt utterly exhausted, poured all the sleeping pills into my palm, and swallowed them. Victor returned, saw my pale face, legs buckling as he crawled to me, lifting me. Seeing the empty bottle, he panicked completely. He sobbed, begging me not to die, admitting fault. I lost consciousness, recalling nothing after. When awareness returned, I couldn't open my eyes, only hearing two voices nearby. "Doctor, is my wife okay? She's been saved but needs careful recovery. Any way to ensure she never stands again?" My heart seized as if clutched tight. "There is, but think it over, Victor. Madam's already suicidal, losing her legs could worsen it. No, she always wants to leave if crippled, she can't, over time, she'll come around. Even if she dies, it'll be by my side." I gasped. I'd known Victor was cold outside, obsessive within, but never imagined he'd go this far. I tried waking to resist, but my eyelids felt crushed by mountains. A needle's sting hit my wrist. I was drugged, slipping back into darkness. Awakening, Victor sat by the bed, gazing tenderly, horrified. I tried retreating, but my legs felt nothing, like they weren't mine, immovable. Panicked, I pounded them with my hands, still nothing. Victor held me. "Emma, don't, rest assured, I'll be your legs from now on." Tears blurred my vision. I couldn't see the man clearly loving Sophie yet refusing to free me, obsessive enough to cripple my legs. A loud slap hit his face. "Victor, I'll hate you." He smiled. "Doesn't matter as long as you're by my side, nothing does." I sneered, spotting a fruit knife on the bedside table, stabbing his right leg hard while he was off guard. He seemed painless, wiping my tears. "Emma, I love you." "Victor, your love disgusts me." Throwing his words back, his eyes stung, unaware how they hurt. From that day, his right leg was ruined. Though he could walk, he needed a cane, a black one now in hand. I was forever wheelchair-bound. No matter my insults, Victor smiled, patiently bringing me porridge daily, tending to my needs without complaint. Yet my hatred grew. He caused it all, his care just guilt relief. After meals, when sunny, he'd wheel me to the garden to bask and see flowers. The Liu family had a vast garden, full of lovely blooms. He tirelessly shared their meanings and origins, though I never replied. At a pink flower, he squatted before me. "Emma, remember this one? That year, you said it's pretty, with a faint scent when it blooms, hoping our future home would be full of them. I didn't know I'd fallen for you, just found it novel and planted it. I spoke, of course that day, you threw it down, stomped it, calling me cheap, prideless, a whore." His smile froze, he held my hand, voice shaking. "Emma, I'm sorry you were always around, I thought I didn't love you. Until I saw you love Ethan." Unfamiliar pain engulfed me. I dreamed of you nightly, realizing how deeply I loved you. I yanked my hand free, repulsed. "Victor, your words sicken me." He fell silent, eyes red. Then, cries came from the gate. "Please, call Victor, he'll see me. I don't want to go abroad, I want to stay with him." I snorted, turning my wheelchair to leave. Victor held me, pushing me to the door. It opened. In mere months, Sophie, once beauty-obsessed, looked a wreck. Sensing him, she lit up. "Victor, I knew you still love me. I won't go abroad, Victor." Victor's tone chilled. "No, you must go abroad and never return to S-City." "Victor, how can you after all our years?" Before she finished, Victor cut in sharply. "Since you faked those photos and sent them to Emma, our last friendship died. If she hadn't survived that night, it wouldn't just be exile." She laughed. "So for her, you'll dump me in a place with no family, no friends, no money from home? How do I live?" Victor's voice stayed icy. "That's your problem." She laughed maniacally, pointing and cursing. Victor, you scumbag, think this wins her heart? Forgotten how you hurt her? Deluding yourself. If I were Emma, I'd want you dead and gone. Victor, at his limit, grabbed her throat. Shut up. I said shut up. Stubborn, she pressed on. Victor, oh Victor, never thought you'd stoop to this, tolerating your wife loving another, wearing your shame. I admire you. Enraged, Victor flung her down. Sophie's face scraped the ground, hitting sharp stones, gashing wide, blood pouring. She touched it, breaking down. My face, my face. Victor ignored her, pushing me back to the villa. Rattled by Sophie, he stayed silent. After settling me in my room, he smoked endlessly on the balcony. Eventually, reeking of smoke, he approached. Emma, tell me you love me, right? It's been 6 months, half a year married, you've forgotten him, haven't you? I gazed calmly. Never these years, I dream of him, his kisses, his smile, his face. Victor broke, tears falling. Why? Why, after 6 months, can't I warm you? Is your heart truly harder than stone? I smiled. Following you back then, I longed to ask you the same. Victor, I don't hate you for forcing marriage. We both took what we needed for gain. I even thank the Liu family for saving my father's firm. But you ruined my legs, my freedom. I'll hate you forever. He bowed, head in my lap, shoulders quaking. The phone shattered the silence, faint sobs audible. On speaker, his secretary's voice rang out. Victor, trouble, the company's hit, and they're targeting us specifically. I glimpsed from afar today the leader. It's like, your old bodyguard, Ethan. His name jolted us both. Victor glanced at me, but I'd regained calm. Victor rushed off. As he shut the door, I caught the assistant naming a company. Once his car was gone, I wheeled out, took a cab to that firm, and saw a dozen black-clad guards clear a path for a luxury car. A tall man stepped out. All greeted him. Welcome, Ethan, to inspect. Ethan? I froze as he entered, unsure if it was him. Barred from entering, I turned to leave. Then the suited man appeared before me, smiling gently. Long time no see. But seeing my legs, his face shifted. He knelt. How did this happen? What's occurred these 6 months? Who hurt you? The answer was obvious. His look guessed it instantly. I fought my racing heart, but tears fell. He wiped them gently. Like that night on the mountain. I'll make him pay. I'll avenge you. I didn't see him again after. Victor grew busy, out early, back late, face worsening, often frowning. Woken at midnight by him rising, I heard him on the phone. Yes, ambush at Hashan tomorrow. He likes opposing Liu? Then he'll vanish. Fear what? His family's power means nothing without proof. Was he plotting against Ethan? Next day, Victor gathered black-clad men outside and left. Before going, he hugged me gently. Emma, whatever happens tonight, whatever rumors, don't believe them. Just wait for me calmly, okay? Rare for me, I nodded, forcing a smile. Victor, you won't return. After he left, I locked my room, made a call. That night, I knew nothing, just watched from the balcony as northern skies blazed Hashan's direction, punctuated by occasional booms. Near dawn, Victor's secretary rushed to the villa, panicked. Madam, bad news. Victor's in an accident, critical, under rescue. The doctor needs family to sign for surgery. Since your marriage, Charles been abroad, unreachable. Only you remain. Let's go. Outside the OR, doctors bustled with tools, tense. The lead urged, Madam Emma, what's the holdup? Sign surgery's got a 2% chance to save him. Delay and it's too late. My emotions tangled, mind blank. My pen hand wouldn't move. After a long sigh. Victor, your retribution only 2%. Then no surgery. I don't want him suffering more. All stared, shocked. The doctor pressed, you're sure no surgery? Yes, as Victor's wife, I decide against it. He'd laugh in fury if he heard the first time I claimed that title was to let him die. Nurses wheeled him out, draped in white, asking if I'd see him one last time. I refused. Watching him head to the morgue, I felt no expected joy. 3 days after Victor's death, his lawyer found me with a share transfer his will. I took over the Lou Group, initially scorned by directors. I led it to new heights, my methods growing sharper. No one dared belittle me now. Ethan seemed a bodyguard again, daily pushing my wheelchair, unshakable. One day, I asked when he felt for me. He said likely that mountain night, finding me huddled, whimpering softly, melting his heart. I asked, "How'd you become Ethan?" His answer revealed he was a European billionaire's son, with many heirs vying murderously for wealth. He hid via a deal with Victor, staying close while Victor masked him. After I was taken from the airport, he saw power's worth, returned to his family, and fought half a year for control. I teased, "You finally got it, why not run it instead of staying with me?" He knelt, massaging my legs. "This is my truest desire. You outweigh everything. You outweigh everything." At that moment, I was no longer unloved. I, too, could be cherished.